Hi, Murray Hibbard here. You may not recognize me from my first video on making pastry because I lost my COVID beard, how careless, and my COVID hair is not as long as it was before, although it does need another trim from my COVID barber, who's also my videographer and my resident Bible geek and my older daughter. Thanks, Ashley. So, when I did my first pastry tutorial, it was about making the pastry and getting it as far as the pan. I promised at that time that I would have a part 2, and people asked me about that for a while, and then I think they gave up. But here I am back, ready to make pies, especially because today is Pie Day. Today's March the 14th, 3/14, which is pie. If you don't get that, you're not a math geek, and that's okay. We love not math geeks too. Thanks. You're welcome, Amy. So, I've always wanted to make lots of pies on Pie Day, and I've never gotten around to it before, largely because we try not to eat too many sweets, although I love them dearly. So today we're making pies to take to our local homeless shelter. They're called Bridges here in Cambridge, Ontario, and they do a great work. So I'm going to do part 2 in a number of different segments so that if you're wanting to see how to make a 2-crust pie, you don't have to wade through how to make a 1-crust pie or a pre-baked pie shell, that type of thing. We are starting with a pre-baked pie shell. So this is the type of crust that you would use for a lemon meringue pie, for any type of cream pie, chocolate cream, coconut cream, you get the idea. So last time we got as far as getting our pastry rolled out and into the pan. It is already rolled out now here, but I will review the getting it into the pan. My recommendation at that time was to start rolling it very gently like this, because if you try to pick it up by one end, it's probably going to break. But by doing this, it picks up quite nicely, and then we can just do that. Okay, once you get it into your pan, you take your scissors and you cut some of the excess pastry off of the sides. Don't cut it too close because we will be using a little over the edge. In fact, we'll even be using the cuttings here as well later on. Okay, so I'll just put that off to one side. And then what I do, oops, here's a bit more. Let's just yank some of it off and hope we don't regret our liberality. So next thing I'm going to do is just curl it under. Okay, just curl the excess that we purposely left underneath all the way around. Okay, after you have that done all the way around, the next thing we do is to flute it. Okay, so to do that, we put our thumb and forefinger inside and our index finger of the other hand outside, and then pull back with the thumb and forefinger. Okay, now besides making a really pretty crust, which it really does, there is some value to this because fluting it means that it's less likely to shrink and shrivel and go down into the pie pan when you're ready to, or when you bake it. Okay, think of it, if you are a seamstress or a tailor, think of it in terms of pinking shears. Oh good, my oven is up to temperature. So in the same way that pinking shears will keep your fabric from unraveling as much, I think that's the purpose of pinking shears anyway. I'm not a tailor myself. Fluting the edge of the pie will help. It won't completely prevent, but it will help with the shrinkage of baking the single pie crust. Another thing that you do is poke some holes in the crust, because if not, you're going to get big, huge bubbles as it bakes. Okay. I only found out recently that I didn't need as many holes as my mother used to do. She had holes absolutely everywhere. I think even now I put in more than most people do, but I found out it's not really necessary to have a huge amount. Now, some people will put like beans or some sort of pie weight in here to help keep the pastry from shrinking too much. I've never gotten into the habit of doing that, and sometimes I regret it. Sometimes I'll put another pan inside to try to keep it from doing too much shrinkage, but let's just go ahead and put it in the oven like this, and we'll see what happens, and we may regret it later. Okay, so we're going to put this in the oven, and I have it set for 425. You can actually go as high as 450, and I'm going to put the timer on for 15 minutes. There we go. No matter what kind of pie we're baking, whether it's pre-baking a shell or baking a single crust pie or a double crust pie, we always start our pastry in a very hot oven for the first at least 10 minutes. Okay, I would actually recommend 450. On this oven, I back things off a little bit, but in my previous oven, it was always at 450 for the first 10 minutes. You want to do that to get the pastry immediately hot and flaky, and then you can turn it down so that your filling will bake as well. Okay, so my 15 minutes are up. Now I have to admit, I looked at my pie shell about 3 minutes in, and it was shrinking miserably. So what I did, come on around here, is I put a pie plate inside to keep it from shrinking too badly. You can see that it still has quite a bit of shrinkage. I'm going to put that in for a couple minutes more just to brown it up a little bit, because it doesn't get very brown when it's had a pie plate in it. So let's give it another couple minutes to see what we have to work with. Okay, now for the big reveal. That's what she's like. And this, my friends, is why you use pie weights, so you don't end up with a shriveled crust like this. Okay, you're getting all the mistakes that I make along with all my successes. Thanks for watching.